Welcome to Logic's Vision. This presentation is brought to you by New Black Knowledge, NBK Way all day. We have the privilege and honor today to speak about one of our black billionaires here in America. The brother's name is Robert Frederick Smith. Robert Frederick Smith was born December 1st, 1962. He's an African-American businessman, investor, and philanthropist. A former chemical engineer and investment banker, he is the founder, chairman, and CEO of private equity firm Vista Equity Partners. He was ranked by Forbes in 2017 as the 226th richest person in America and was number 688 on Forbes' 2016 list of the world's billionaires with a net worth of $4.4 billion. In 2017, Smith was named by Forbes as one of the 100 greatest living business minds. And in a 2018 cover story, Forbes declared Smith the wealthiest African American, surpassing Oprah Winfrey. He was born a ninth-generation Coloradoan with his grandfather's name as his middle name. Robert Frederick Smith grew up the son of two high school principals, Dr. William Robert Smith and Dr. Sylvia Mima Smith, in a predominantly black neighborhood in Denver. His mother was born in Northwest Washington and graduated from Dunbar High before going to graduate school in Denver. There she met Smith's father. When he was an infant, his mother carried him at March on Washington, where the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his I Have a Dream speech. His father, who attended college on a band scholarship, made sure music filled the house. Smith learned to play. Music still permeates his life, even when he's talking about computer programs. A beautifully written software code is a lyrical concerto, he said. Smith's parents stressed to him and his older brother the importance of philanthropy. As a child, he watched his mother send off a $25 check to the United Negro College Fund each month. In high school, Smith became interested in computers. As a junior, he talked his way into a college internship at Bell Labs. He spent summers and Christmas breaks figuring out how computers worked or didn't. Figuring out complex problems is what got Smith interested in computers. As a college student, he read about pioneering black executives, Kenneth Chenault, CEO of American Express, and Richard Parsons, former chairman of Time Warner and Citigroup. He studied chemical engineering at Cornell and earned his MBA from Columbia University. After working in Air Products and Chemicals, Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, and later at Kraft General Foods as a chemical engineer, where he earned 2 United States and 2 European patents, he attended Columbia Business School. Smith earned an MBA with honors specializing in finance and marketing. After graduate school from 1994 to 2000, he joined Goldman Sachs in technology investment banking, first in New York City and then in Silicon Valley. He advised on over $50 billion in merger and acquisition activity with companies such as Apple, Microsoft, Texas Instruments, eBay, and Yahoo. He was the first person at Goldman Sachs to focus solely on technology mergers and acquisitions in foreign countries. Smith left Goldman in 2000 to start Vista Equity Partners. In 2000, Smith founded Vista Equity Partners, a private equity and venture capital firm of which he is the principal founder, chairman, and chief executive. As Vista's chairman and chief executive, he is in the business of buying, growing, and selling off software companies. Vista's portfolios has 35 companies with $26 billion in assets under management. He is the majority shareholder of Vista's management company. Among Vista's portfolio companies are Finastra, Tibco, Solera, Infloblocks, Eagleview, Lithium, Kibo, Savent, and News Cycle. According to Preqin, a London-based private equity tracker, Vista Equity Partners is among the top 50 most consistent performing buyout fund managers in the world for 2016. By the time he was 35, Smith had earned his first billion, he said. Less than 20 years later, his first billion. Along with balancing his business and philanthropy, Smith juggles family life. He is the father of 5 children. Beyond Wall Street and Silicon Valley, Smith long enjoyed moving in relative obscurity. That changed last fall when Forbes magazine put him on its cover with an article for which he declined to be interviewed. For years, Smith shied away from photographs. He said he is now more comfortable in the public eye, partly because he wants others, particularly young African Americans, to see what he is doing. A fly fisherman and avid reader, Smith peppers his conversation with quotes from favorite works from Walt Whitman's poems, which Smith said help people understand what America is about, to Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist, and Ta-Nehisi Coates' Between the World and Me, which Smith said wonderfully chronicles the challenges of black youth day-to-day survival. Smith uses the arts, specifically music, as a litmus test to determine a person's passion. He manages 42,000 employees with 670,000 software customers. The best employees, he says, are those who are interested not just in finance or computers, but in music, theater, and the arts as well. He says, I look for a complete package. When someone is a complete package, they are more engaged, more excited, more passionate about what they are doing. In 2013, when the founders of the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture were seeking donors, people directed them to one man, Robert Frederick Smith. The private equity financier was the museum's second biggest private donor with the $20 million gift. Oprah Winfrey was number one with $21 million. Telling his stories, for instance, through his donation to the museum, visitors will be able to leverage the power of technology to chronicle and share personal narratives, whether they are standing in the building or logged on from home across the world. In October 2014, Vista closed its Fund 5 at $5.8 billion, its largest fund to date. January 2015, Vista Equity Partners was named the best performing private equity firm for the previous 10 years by the HEC Dow Jones annual ranking conducted by Professor Oliver Gottschalk. Preqin, a consulting firm that tracks the industry, reports that Vista's third fund returned $2.46 billion for every dollar invested, better than every other big fund raised between 2006 and 2010, the boom years for private equity. In January 2016, Smith steered $50 million to Cornell University, donating $20 million personally and overseeing a $30 million investment through the foundation. The directive, Smith wants to boost the number of black and female students at Cornell's engineering school. Only 3% of Cornell's 5,000 engineering students are African American and 42% are female, said Lance Collins, the school's dean. Cornell currently partners with New York high schools as a pipeline for its engineering school. Smith directed the college to expand the relationship to schools outside New York that may have a higher concentration of talented black students. Smith also directed the school to begin offering financial aid packages to its graduate students, as opposed to only undergraduates. Cornell officials will have to prepare yearly reports for Smith detailing the school's progress. In 2016, officials of Cornell University recognized Smith's leadership by naming a Robert Frederick Smith School of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering after him. The first school in Cornell's 151-year history named after an African American. Smith became the first African American and the first non-New Yorker to be named chairman of New York's 125-year-old Carnegie Hall. Using digital media, he wants to introduce live symphony music to children across the country, which he thinks is especially important now that many schools have dropped music classes. In 2017, Vista Equity Partners was reported to have $30 billion under management, and Robert Frederick Smith was named as Private Equity and International's 2016 Game Changer of the Year. Smith was named as one of the Philanthropy 50 by the Chronicle of Philanthropy in 2017. In May 2017, the Giving Pledge announced that Smith had joined its ranks as the only African American philanthropist. Smith is a member of the board of the Louis Armstrong House Museum, the only authentically preserved home of a jazz musician in the country that also manages the Louis Armstrong Research Collection, the largest single jazz musician archives in the world. His philanthropic efforts go back years. Through the Fund 2 Foundation, of which he is the founding president, he has supported nonprofit groups that focus on African American culture, human rights, music education, and the environment. He's directed his foundation to donate $300,000 to the environmental program, Roots and Shoots, which is designed to get inner city youth involved in environmental programs in cities such as Washington, Baltimore, New York, and Atlanta. Donations from Smith personally or from the foundation he leads come with directives. If I can inspire other business leaders to step out there and do more community work, real work, not just going to a Boys and Girls Club and writing a $10,000 check and going to a gala, he said, we want to create an environment for these young people that will help them become their best selves. Smith wants computers and software to become for an African Americans what the steel mills and auto plants were for generations of blacks in the early 20th century. Creating jobs and technology, Smith says, is the fastest way to create wealth today. This is the first time in history you can create wealth and not have access to capital. You just need intellectual property. A blogger who has a large audience can create wealth by attracting advertisers, he said. I am showing the current generation of African Americans they can do it too, so the next generation can go even higher. Among the honors and awards Smith has received are the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Chairman's Award, Reginald F. Lewis Achievement Award, the Humanitarian of the Year Award from the Robert Togo Foundation, and the Ripple of Hope Award from Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights. Smith was also awarded an honorary doctorate of international affairs from American University School of International Service. He founded Project Realize, termed free market philanthropy, in order to combine the best elements of the American free enterprise system with the core American ideals of giving back and lifting others up. He is the chairman of Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights, serves on the board of overseers of Columbia Business School, as a member of the Cornell Engineering College Council, and a trustee of the Boys and Girls Club of San Francisco. Smith also plans to use his computer skills in his role as chairman of the Robert F. Kennedy Center for Justice and Human Rights. For much of the organization's 48 years, it has fought social injustice outside of the United States, he says. He wants to use social media applications to train human rights activists in American cities. Smith says he is often reminded he is still a black man in this country. At least 3 to 7 times a year, he says, he is stopped by police as he drives himself to the airport in Texas. The officers run his tags and checks his license. He is told he was speeding or changed lanes without signaling. The officers send him off often without a ticket. He says, you shouldn't have to be fearful of your life, he said. You should be able to drive to the airport and not be stopped 3 to 7 times a year. But Smith never worries about missing his flight. His private plane won't leave without him.